Well, good evening, Burlington and Halton residents. This is Burlington Mayor Marianne Mead Ward. Thanks for tuning in and joining us for Burlington Matters, where we talk about what matters to you and what's going on in our city. Just a couple of updates for you. Council came back after the summer break in September and did a lot of work. I think we had about 1,500 to 2,000 pages worth of reading, and a couple of the things that we are looking at is installing rainbow crosswalks at various points throughout the city in time for next year, Pride Month, June 2020. We approved the recommendations from the task force that myself and Kelvin Galbraith started back in January, the Red Tape, Red Carpet Task Force, to eliminate barriers to doing business in our city and roll out the red carpet. So 22 of those recommendations were approved unanimously by Council, and we are now in the implementation phase, getting monthly reports on that. And a whole lot more is going on. So check it out, tune in, and I want to welcome the guests that I have today on the show. So with me today is Blair Smith and Lynn Crosby, who are the citizen leaders of We Love Burlington. So, hey, we do love Burlington. And as we all know, Burlington was recently recognized as the #1 city in the country by Maclean's magazine, #1 place to raise a family as well. And I say to folks, that's not anything to do with me. I can't take the credit for that. That is us. That is our community. Everything that we all have done to make this a great place. So, and that work is ongoing and under threat. So let's talk about that. So, tell me a little bit. Tell my viewers a little bit about who you are and how you got started and what your mission is.
So we started back in January. There were a small little group of five founding members. We have a couple of other people we consult with as well. But we started off in January when the provincial government announced the regional review. And we saw that there was a group of citizens in Oakville who were quick out of the gate with a group called We Love Oakville, Stop Amalgamation. We met with them and we agreed with their thoughts about the system seemed very rushed, this process. There was really very little meaningful consultation. And we were just concerned, and we decided to create a Burlington chapter. So we called ourselves We Love Burlington. We used their same format for consistency. We're in this together with them. We still meet with them regularly, but we're our own Burlington group, but we support each other, and we really just wanted to make sure the province knows that Burlington citizens also are concerned, and we wanted to raise awareness for Burlington folks about this issue and hopefully let them decide for themselves, let their voices be heard, and we educate them.
What's at stake here, Blair? Like, what are we talking about? What's the risk?
Well, I think the risk is essentially loss of local voice. If amalgamation, or as we're calling it now, because amalgamation was a term that we borrowed from Oakville to keep kind of a common branding. Now we're calling it the megacity, which is resonating with people. It has some historical precedent. But what we stand to lose, or what could in fact happen if there is a megacity of Halton, is you will see our taxes rise. We'll see an increase in municipal debt. We will likely see a reduction in service, not an increase, or cut services. We may see fewer politicians, but we will certainly see an increase in the bureaucracy, in the cost of government, and in the responsiveness of government to the citizen. Because what's going to happen is that level of government, the municipality, which is closest to the citizen, is going to become one step more distant.
So the risk is that the province may say, instead of 4 different municipalities, Burlington, Halton Hills, Oakville, Milton, which make up Halton Region, they want a Halton megacity.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
And your message to the province and our message, I certainly support you. Regional Council, as you know, voted unanimously to send a message to the province that we are not interested in either, divorcing from the region and becoming independent cities, or amalgamating into one giant megacity.
And yourself, Mayor Burton, Mayor Bennett, have been wonderful advocates for our cause and for your cause.
Well, it is true. I mean, the issue of raising taxes, cutting services, less voice for citizens is what's at stake, and I think that's why it's really resonated in Oakville and in Burlington. I can tell you, in the last couple of days, even, you guys have been very busy because my inbox has exploded with people writing in to Gary Carr, to myself, he's the regional chair, to our MPPs throughout the region to say, send a message that this is not something we want.
When we delegated to Mr. Fenn and Mr. Sealing, I think it was May 12th, our message was one of moderation and pace. You know, please consider what you're doing before you do it. And please don't consider that one solution is necessary for all. Halton is not broken.
Right.
So address areas that are. And there are some. I mean, if you take a look at Niagara, for example, 13 mayors plus a regional chair. Now, it's hard to imagine how you can create a consensus vision with that sort of political disparity. But Halton has done remarkably well, both in terms of the service provision and in terms of the governance structure that it's adopted.
So Lynn, I know you've been, your group has been in touch with our MPPs and written to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. And what is the response back that you're getting? Why, what problem are they trying to fix? What are they telling you in terms of why they're doing this? And can you get a sense of what the outcome might be?
They tell us very little. We, in fact,
you get the same letters I get.
Yes, we do, and the same things they say in public. In fact, we just got a letter yesterday from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Steve Clark, which caught us a bit by surprise because it was in response to something we sent months ago, I guess, and really that says nothing new. They talk about we're looking for efficiencies. It won't be a one-size-fits-all. We know that the report by the reviewers was supposed to be released in July. That was then delayed until now. Early November is what we've heard after the federal election. So they'll mention that in the letter that they await the report. They're really saying very, very little. So we keep urging people to send letters, and we can say that we now know Halton has sent in well over 3,200 letters. That's terrific. Unprecedented.
That's amazing.
And for a government that strives to be for the people and claims to be listening, we think that they cannot ignore 3,200 letters and counting. We urge people to continue sending them.
Getting them, yeah.
Yes.
So is your sense that the majority or all of those letters are saying don't fix what's not broken?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
That's
all
the message.
Of them. Yes.
So Blair, what are you hearing in terms of, are you hearing anything in terms of where this may go? Do you want to get out your crystal ball and, what are the I mean, the possibility is everything from nothing changes to they dismantle Halton Region or make a megacity. Those are the. Yeah. But where do you think this is going to land in November once we get the news?
I think there are going to be changes. I think there'll be changes to certain regional municipalities. I mentioned one. I think there's several that will probably be affected. Halton, I think. The danger there is that it may look the same but be different. In other words, they remove local authority, leave the councils the way they are, leave the political representation looking the same, but remove the local authority and the local voice. Start consolidating the services more fulsomely.
So port some things that are happening at the municipal up to the region?
And start to mute that local voice. I think that's the danger that we have right now. There is the danger of the megacity, but there's also the danger of the megacity without the name.
Right.
Which is kind of what we're worried about too, is that they may make it look like they didn't do anything,
Well,
but the
yeah.
result is the same. If they take away our local voice and the municipal powers, it's still the same.
Well, one of the things that has been discussed, of course, is where does planning go? Because the city of Burlington has a planning department. We deal with local issues, but the region of Halton also has a planning department, and they look at a broader perspective. They look region-wide, and we look city-wide. Certainly I wouldn't be supportive of any move to take that out and port it to the region. That's one of the most important things that we do.
That's right.
I've talked about making transit regionalized. I think that would actually help a lot of us. And that's, there are different views among the mayors in Halton Region about that, but that would be potentially an opportunity. But other than that, we run a very efficient AAA credit rating, safest community in the country, lowest, low zero or inflation rate taxes over the last 10 years, and so forth. So, if anything, we're the model citizen for how government should work.
Precisely.
And it's also interesting that they're studying 82 municipalities, but there's 361 municipalities they're not studying. And so,
and where are those?
Where are those? They don't seem to be near the Greenbelt, as the other 82 seem to be. You wonder if it really is, if they believe that this is more efficient and that they need to study everything and that they can come up with better solutions, then why aren't they studying?
And
the minister's, sorry to interrupt, but the minister's own riding,
Yes,
and many ministers' ridings are not on the list.
That's right.
That's right.
One of the underlying rationales for the review was to increase economies of scale and efficiencies. And there are things that we actually proposed to Mr. Finn and Mr. Sealing that can be done within the current governance structure. Things relative to purchasing and vendors of record and fleet management and more common technology platforms and data resources. Things that won't affect the basic decision-making process
Right.
within the region. And those things can be done without affecting the structure.
And we're looking at that. In Burlington, we actually did take the province up on their offer to bring in, to get resources to bring in an outside consultant to look at where we could find efficiencies and save some dollars. And we were successful in that. We are getting some funding and hope to have some of that by the end of the year. We do that every year because municipalities can't run a deficit like the province can.
Exactly.
But we're always looking for efficiencies, and and we would invite the province to truly look for efficiencies, not just download services to municipalities. But that's a whole other show.
I mean, as we always like to say, there's only one taxpayer.
There really
So downloading
is.
it onto the municipalities
Still has to be paid for. It's just going to not be in a good way.
And much of it occurred after the municipalities had set their budget.
Well, exactly. We're almost out of time, so this is the fun part of the show where you get to share something with our viewers that they may not know about you. That's fun. So, favorite song?
I'm a blues person, so one of my favorite artists is Joe Bonamassa, and keeping with the amalgamation theme, one of his best songs, I think, is Just Because You Can Don't Mean You Should.
Very apropos. Lynn, book you're reading?
I am reading Ellie Griffith's The Stone Circle right now. I'm a big British mystery fan. And then I'm anxiously awaiting reading Canadian author Louise Penny's next book.
So you are an excellent investigative journalist detective. Very suited for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with me and our audience today and talking about this extremely important issue. And I guess we stay tuned. It's just a couple of weeks now.
Thank you for your support.
You're very welcome.
Very much. And please visit our Facebook page, flip us an email at weloveburlingtonasis@gmail.com, and we'll send you a link to the letter and any information people want.
Keep those petitions coming.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome back, Burlington. Burlington Mayor Marianne Meed Ward here. And earlier in the show, we talked to the We Love Burlington folks. You can check that out online. It is posted there. And we have a new guest in studio for the balance of the show. And I want to introduce everyone to Heather McDonald, who is our Chief Planner and Director of City Building at the City of Burlington. And these are exciting times in Burlington. There's a lot going on. Do you sleep? I get that question a lot. So we are in the midst of reviewing our official plan, particularly related to the downtown policies. That work we're kind of in the middle, I guess, of that now. And so tell me a little bit about what's been happening. I know over the summer you were out and about with the community, and we were trying some unique things. So tell us about some of that and some of what you heard from the residents.
Yes, so busy summer, and that we really moved into our first stage of engagement at taking a closer look at the official plan policies for the downtown, which are very important for setting the framework for considering applications and growth to 2031. So in looking at taking that closer look, we went out in August to engage around what's really important to people about the downtown. We had started thinking maybe the summer wasn't the perfect time to be doing this, but found that actually we were able to engage with a lot of people that were out and about doing lots of great things in the city. So we had
you were at community events and festivals. I know you were at the farmers market.
Yes, we had 16 different what we called pop-ups, and at different facilities, at the Children's Festival, as you mentioned, the farmers market. And so we were able to engage with people and from throughout the city coming down to the downtown or throughout the city to enjoy different activities in the summer. We had one example that we were really trying to reach out to youth as well as just everybody. And we had one young boy come and speak with us at the farmers market, and he actually filled out, because we had asked people to give their comments in writing as well, and in answer to the question about what was important to him about the downtown and what he liked the most, he said that he could bring his ferret downtown and that he was allowed to walk around the streets with his ferret. A
well-behaved ferret.
Yeah.
That is
so we
if
thought
I
that
see
was
that
great.
young man, I am going to say hello and get a picture with him.
So that was great. But as I say, we had the opportunity in these 16 pop-ups, but we also had 2 what we call action labs, where we invited people. It was at the Burlington Art Gallery in an afternoon session and evening session. And we had people sit at tables and talk about what's most important to them about the downtown, what they would like to preserve, and what they'd like to see more of. And they had a chance to actually show that by doing drawings and engaging with one another at tables, and then coming back to a bigger group. And so we got a lot of great feedback.
That's terrific. I want to come back to that in a minute, but one of the things that the city has tried, which is really, I think, the first we've ever done this. It was a very unique situation, and it was called the Food for Feedback event a couple of weeks back, and the city put out food trucks, and it was at Central Park, and people could come, and if they gave their feedback, they would get a voucher for the food truck. I was there, and so tell us a little bit about that and what you heard and who came out.
So there was an amazing. We hear up to 1,000 people attended, and it provided the opportunity to give feedback on various initiatives that the city has underway. But we had lineups at our table. So we were very happy about that.
That's great. Do people normally line up to talk planning?
No. And
that's got to be gratifying.
So, and official plan policies, which are more visionary, and sometimes people are less likely to engage at that, when we're talking about higher level policies. But we saw a real interest in that and understanding how they could get involved further in this closer look at the downtown. So we were able to talk about where we'd been, but what's next in terms of engagement.
Where we're going. Well, and what I observed, and many people who were there commented that the folks who came out, and it was over a 4-hour period, so there was a turnover of people, but as you say, over 1,000 at our most recent count. They're people that don't normally come to town halls. They're folks that we don't necessarily see coming out and giving our feedback. So I know that was one of the things on council we were all struggling with, and staff, is how do we cast the broadest net to make sure that a whole range and diversity of perspectives across the city are heard. And it sounds like, I mean, that was my observation, that there were people I was meeting for the first time.
We also had a survey online through our Get Involved Burlington.ca, and that website is, everybody should have that in their bookmarked, because
Burlington.ca, get involved.
Yes, so it's that's where you're going to get information, not just on what we're working on right now, but that's your go-to place to get all the information about what we've done so far in engagement, what we heard. There's going to be a report posted soon about all the themes that we've heard. But that we did a survey, and that was open for a fair number of weeks to get people's input. We'll be doing that again, but that's another way to reach out across the city. And there will be a special edition of City Talk going out that's going to focus just on this initiative,
and
taking a closer look.
And that lands in everybody's mailbox, so they'll see that. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you're hearing so far. What are I'm really interested in what the young man with the ferret said about the downtown. What is he like, other than that he can bring his ferret downtown?
Yeah, and that openness and feeling of a small town in a bigger city.
Yep, I heard that during the election loud and clear.
So we certainly heard that. We heard the importance of green space, protecting what we've got in the downtown and adding to that, the connectivity to the waterfront. That is
Very
our
important.
jewel.
Yep.
And the attraction of businesses, particularly small businesses, we heard that loud and clear. The preference for a mid-rise form of development. And
mid-rise is 4 to 8, 6 to 8 stories.
Yes, or it could be as high as 11. But that mid-rise was certainly what was being.
So not 22, 23-story buildings. They're not. Yeah.
That's
what I heard at the doors. I think that's why we saw the election we did with 5 new members of council.
And the walkability. So various themes came out, some concerns around parking and traffic, but some very positive things around what's there now. And those were the questions we were really asking through the engagement. What do you like most about, what's most important to you about the downtown? What do you want to preserve? What do you want to see more of? So these are those themes were answers to those questions, yes.
So what comes next? You're still doing some more engagement till I think roughly middle of November. So how can people continue?
The next step really is we're taking all that feedback that we got, and this is what we're using to inform developing a couple of options for changes to what we had previously put forward in the adopted official plan, to take out to the public. And these, we'll have 2 options for the downtown, and we won't be asking people choose one. They're conversation starters. So what do you like about each of these options? It will likely be a hybrid. So that we will be having public consultation in October. We'll have more action labs, another survey, and we will be then taking all that feedback and preparing a recommended option to bring forward.
So this comes, that will come back to City Council to vote on, and then we send that, because we're part of the regional government, unless they change that in November. That was what we were talking about earlier in the show. Then we send that to the region, and then they incorporate that into their decision making, and we should hear from them.
So we will be bringing a report forward early in the new year for council to consider, with our recommendations from staff. And as you say, those will be incorporated with the work that we're doing on the other nonconformity issues that the region had identified with the adopted official plan, and that will go as a package with recommendation from our council as to what modifications should be made to the adopted plan, and
That's
hopefully
great.
move forward with approval.
That's terrific. So lots more opportunity to get involved.
Absolutely.
And so we just have a couple of seconds left here. I always like to leave on a personal note in terms of what sharing something people may not know about you. So let's talk about your favorite restaurant.
Okay, so I have a lot of favorite restaurants in downtown Burlington, but I have to say the Martini House has been a great place to spend some time on the patio this summer.
Oyster lover? Awesome. They do have oysters there, so excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time and for joining us. And thank you to all of our viewers who tuned in, who may be watching this also online. Great to have you with us. If you have any questions, please do get in touch, mayor@burlington.ca. Good night.